So proudly we hailed, and the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the path.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Gary, your host of the Freedom Network. We are back here live. Finally, it's been a while. I know it's been a while. Life has been busy. What can I tell you? It's been very busy. My capitalist life has taken over a little bit, but we're back and we should be on a fairly regular schedule now for a while. And I'm very glad that you have decided to join us. You know who else decided to join us? This guy, Jimmy.
Hey,
Welcome
how's it
back.
going, Gary?
It's been a while
It has
since
been
we've
a
sat
while.
here.
I'm almost nervous. Not
You know,
quite, but almost.
it's been the jitters are back. You know,
Almost.
It's been a while and so much has happened that there's no way that we could recap the past month and a half.
No
It might have been.
special 2-hour show or anything like that?
I mean, you know, I could have probably come in and filmed a 4-hour miniseries. You know, there's been so much happening. But any of the, any of the topics that have been going on, you want to bring up or you want to bring up, just email them in, or you know, we can go that way because there's been so much that it's just we can't narrow it down possibly to that amount of time. So we seem to have a fair amount of battery. The computer seems to be looking okay after all this time. Not great though, Jim. Not great. It's not running 100%.
Yeah.
I see. I got this running here
spiral thing
constantly.
going, yeah.
So once we do that story, we got to X out of that because I'll lose the power. See, I do learn some things from the
Oh, that
from the
makes
young.
the power suck up faster? Is that what you're telling
It
me?
does because it's working. Anything it's doing, it's working.
All right.
Yeah, just like you. You work, you're burning fuel.
I don't ever get tired. What are you talking about?
I know, you're a machine. You're a machine. So, how have you been for all this time? Been good?
Hanging in there, Gary. Yeah,
That's good.
It's been all right. Yeah, working hard, and things have been pretty good.
Good.
I hang out with my buddy Gary every Monday night.
Yeah, we do. We do. We with mixed
Occasionally.
results.
Yeah.
Not with us, but with our performance in pool. They usually the two of us. The biggest thing is we can never really hit it at the same time.
That is
Not
correct.
this session now.
Not this session, yeah.
So you know we're doing okay. I think
We're middle of the pack.
Middle of the
That's
pack?
how we always do it.
we do, and then we surge in,
And then we surge
sometimes
in.
we grab. Actually, we've never not got a trophy, have we? In
Well,
this league?
we've
Once.
not got a trophy once,
Once.
but we've only been in the league. We've made the playoffs every time,
Yeah.
and we've
Yeah.
only not got a trophy once. So
I seem to have lost my ability to play pool in the league.
only in the league.
It's the craziest thing.
Yeah.
It really is. Not that I'm so great outside the league, but I can at least hold my own. But I can't play in the league much. I mean, I started off pretty good.
Well, you won
you know.
Monday though.
I did win. I got to win. I got to
Convincing
win in
style
there.
too.
Yeah, in convincing style, late at night. You know, it wasn't like the Red Sox.
You were playing
where
loose.
yeah,
You were
I was
playing loose. I don't know. Did you have
Yeah.
anything to drink Monday night?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I try to curtail those activities when I'm going to be doing something like playing pool. But you know, I might have had one.
But when you're playing
beforehand,
last,
kinda-
when you're playing last,
when you're playing last, it's late.
right.
I mean, it's late.
Right.
You know, but you have some dinner and you go on. But yeah, I think that this has been the toughest session for us.
It has been.
It has been.
It has been. A
You
tough
didn't know
session.
you were tuning into a quasi-sport
I know,
show.
right?
Is
We're just-
pool a sport, by the way?
I believe it is.
I don't think it is.
You
but
don't?
I think it's more
It's
of
not
a.
like an athletic sport. I mean,
No,
you
I
know,
guess right.
A
So
guy
there's-
of my stature can play it
yeah, right.
and
with us
potentially be
walking out
really
there.
good. I don't know.
Yeah, no, you're good. You do fine with it. I guess we can take some emails on that off. We have an informal poll. Is pool a sport?
Okay.
Because if pool's a sport, then darts has to be a sport.
And I would argue that that is too.
It probably is.
I mean, they play that thing in Vegas. You make money and everything.
Is
Did you ever
anything-
see those guys play darts?
Is anything that's competitive then considered a sport? I mean, where do you define it?
Well, everybody's line is different with every subject, Gary.
Yes, it is, as we well know. I mean, thank God, you know, the two of us, the conversations we have. All right, folks, look, there's a lot that's going on. Email in if you want to talk about anything in particular or anything that we may hit on. But I think we should just jump right in. I know that I had posted on Facebook, and somebody had talked about the field locally, and we're going to go nationally in a minute here, but we always will have time for local stuff. So they want to do a debt exclusion,
Right.
raise taxes, and get the
And
get
what
a
was
new
it, like
field.
70 grand or something? That
You know, I'm so
Isn't that
far
the
away
first
from it,
number I
Jim.
heard from that?
I'm so far away from it. I'm sure that somebody's got some hard figures. I think it did come back down to the cup of coffee thing again.
No,
I
but the
think that
overall to
happened.
do the project was like $70,000.
Yeah, it was a lot of money. I just got see. It's amazing how people have this back line into the show
Yeah.
where they can't come on, they can't call, they can't email.
So they have the hotline number and they text you.
But this person deserves to have their own hotline.
Okay.
I will not mention who it is.
All right.
But this person can always have their own hotline.
Okay.
Into here. But as far as
Is it giving us the total?
they're both sports. No, this is back
Oh,
to the
they're both
sports.
sports.
Both sports. Yep. Pool, darts. Of course, they're sports. Was the comment.
All right. So, yes, sports is winning so far.
Yes, sports is winning 1-0 with 100% of the vote.
Is
It's
running
kinda like a
is
Democrat
running a
primary.
poll on sports a sport?
Now that is a hell of a question. Let's jump on the line here and
Phone.
see. We got somebody up there. They're blinking the light, so
Yeah.
I think I remember how to do that. Good evening. You are on the Freedom Network. How are you? Hello?
Yeah, I'm just wondering. The socialists are trying to take over our nation. They tried a presidential coup. They're trying to destroy our country from within, and you guys are talking about pool.
Well, we're talking about pool because we always start the show off on a lighter note, and then we really get into
There
the
is no
nitty gritty of it. Go ahead.
There is no lightness.
Well, there's no lightness when it
We're
comes
in
to
a
your
war
freedom
right
being
now.
stolen.
We're in a
That's
war
for
our
sure.
lives.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, I was talking over you. No, go ahead. I want you to be able to say what you want.
We're in a war for our lives right now.
I would think that it has definitely begun. I mean, doesn't seem to be an active physical battlefield, a little bit, but there is an absolute push
Political.
toward
Yeah.
socialism in this country that, and quite honestly, I don't think that this country has ever really seen. And I think the problem is, I think the government has continued to try to drag us into that government world, but the people now seem so easily led into this socialistic utopia crap or baloney.
So there's a reason for that,
Go ahead.
Gary.
Go ahead.
And the reason is that the media is spoon feeding these people lies 24/7, and people don't know the difference. I know my mother has no idea what's really going on. Some of my friends have no idea what's really going on, and unless you really know, there's no way you. If you're reading the paper, if you're watching Channel 4, 5, and 7, and if you're watching CNN, and if you're watching MSNBC, and even sometimes if you're watching Fox, you're not getting the real truth about what's going on in this country.
No, you're 100% right. I often say that there is no media in America. None. There is. I can't find any. The only way I can get an opinion or try to get what I would call a fact about
Sure.
something is to go deep and watch them all, so that I can see what the left media, what the right media, all these agenda machines are saying, and then you can sometimes pick up some common threads. And if they all say that, they keep on, alluding to X, Y, or Z, that's probably somewhere in the middle as to where the truth is. You can't get facts. And I think that you mentioned Fox. You say sometimes, I'd say all the time. I still think there's an agenda there all the time. I don't think we have a media.
Here's the problem, Gary, and it's, I'm in the media, okay?
Yeah.
And I was doing very well in the media. Like other people, I was shadow banned by Twitter. Twitter I had 150,000 followers, and I was growing every week. They took it and cut it to 75,000, and I was getting 10,000 responses a day. Now I get 8,000 a week because they cut it down. You can't see me anymore.
It's interesting. We were going to talk about Facebook and the social media out there, and how I don't even call them Facebook. I call them Fedbook, because that's what they are. They're an arm of the Fed. They're an arm of that brainwashing mechanism. Go ahead.
I try to put the truth out on Facebook all the time. I have a lot of people who follow me, but they also have removed some of my posts. It's unbelievable. I mean, I can't even believe that they would be doing that. But these are posts that have, they're solid facts, and sometimes they will just delete them.
Well, you know what it is? It's basically, and I've seen people talk about this before, it's like a modern day book burning is what it is. Because what they're doing is they're taking people's opinions and they're just removing them. And like the caller says here, they're taking facts and just removing them. I mean, literally taking things that are factual
Right.
and saying that offended somebody.
They're also cutting into history. So they take things that are historic facts take it out of the history books. So some people are reading history books now in high school that are paid for the last 20 years by Saudi Arabia, and they're all against Israel. They're anti-Semitic.
There's plenty of that out
That's
there.
what's going on.
Look, you know what it is? It's anti-freedom. There's a movement around the globe that is just, it's really taken a good grip on removing freedom. We've seen it in Europe. We've seen it in South America. We've seen it in the United States of America. We've seen it all over the place. And at the end of the day, there seems to be only one path that all these tributaries lead to, which is bigger government, less freedom, and more for the government classes. And they exist in every single country.
It's all about globalism.
Which is very dangerous, in my opinion.
Yes, it is.
I mean...
is. But that's exactly what's going on right now. And it's something that we have to talk about. People out there on Facebook and Twitter and doing things like you're doing right now. It's really important to get it out there and to tell the truth, because people don't get it. In fact, when I tell the truth, sometimes people say, well, I don't believe that because that's not what I saw on Channel 4, and I didn't see that in the Globe today. Well, it is the truth, though. So you got to really do some research. But unfortunately, most Americans don't bother, and I don't think the country is the smartest it's ever been. I can tell you that much.
No, that's...
Common Core has dumbed down the population quite a bit.
Well, yeah, they have dumbed down the population a lot. You said you're in the media. Do you want to plug a website or anything like that?
I actually don't. You know who I am.
All right. I think I know who you
Good.
are. I think I know who
You
you
work
are.
at the same radio station with me.
Oh, yeah, now I know who you are. All right, very good. Well, it's good to hear from you. It's been a long time.
Yeah, it is. But I just got your an email or something or a text, and I said, I'm going to check it out. And I was watching you guys talk about pool, and I was like, oh, that's great.
Just a show open, that's all.
Just a soft open, my friend. But yeah, thanks for directing us to where we need to be. I do appreciate that.
Hey, keep up the good work here.
All right, man. Keep staying. Tune in. If you have any other comments, email them away. Thanks. All right. Well, that's nice. It's nice to hear. You hear voices on a speakerphone.
I figured you kind of knew.
This sounds like this
knew.
guy.
Yeah.
It sounds like that guy. But you don't really know, and I'm still only 98% sure.
Oh, really?
Because there's two that I know it could be.
Yeah.
From old radio station times, but I think that was I don't
Well,
want
you
because
don't
I don't
wanna
want
say
to
the name,
I don't want to
right.
insult anyone, so I don't want to give the wrong name nor attribute his comments to another person.
Sure.
Which is really but I know who you are. I know who you are. But look, let's face it, folks. He's not wrong at all. I mean, what's happening now is we're in a free fall is really what we're in, because there's no one in government that wants to throw out a safety net. They talk about it, but they don't do it. They're not actually making it happen. All they're doing is they're talking and talking and talking about it. There's so much that's going on in Washington, but I am so tired of all the baloney that's going on there. There's just so much crap going on there. Since we last spoke, it seems though that like Trump, it doesn't seem like has done anything illegal. We went on for how long with being illegal, he broke the law and
Well,
all
there's
that
still plenty
stuff.
of people trying to say that that's.
Well, I think that some of what's in that report, in my opinion, that the excerpts and things that I've been able to read sound a little questionable to me. I'm not going to lie to you. But, did he break the law? At least they didn't come out this time and say, what Trump did, we won't charge him for. But if you did it, we would. Because that's what they did with Hillary. So
Yep.
I think he was better than Hillary as far as the walking up to the line. Right? So it's a win for him.
Sure.
It's got to be a win for him. Let's jump back up on the phones. I mean, it can't not be a win. You can't have it both ways. The guy won that. He did. Good evening. You're on the Freedom Network. Welcome.
Hey, good evening, Gary, and good to have you back.
Yes, Gary and Jim.
Yeah.
Yep, you forgot his name. That's
okay. It's right there on the TV.
Yeah, it
screen.
does. Come on. Yeah, no, I'm just messing with you. I'm just messing around with you. How you been, Bear?
That's good. Hey, I think you probably know why I'm calling
The field.
controversy in town over the proposed turf field that's coming up at the Springtown meeting in the ballot box.
Yeah, what are you gonna do, man? Are you a yes or are you a no?
I'm a no for it, and the reason why I'm a no for it, Gary, is because to me, number one, I don't feel the project's been properly vetted. There was no public forums on this. There was no other alternatives presented to the
Yeah, I hope they do too. I mean, I was unaware that there were no public forums on it. I thought that there was something on it, but I could be mistaken. You definitely have a better finger on the pulse with that stuff. I think the biggest issue that we have going on is that there's so much that we need to do. We're a super low tax town. And I'm proud that this is a low tax town, and I know a lot of people out there are also proud of that. So what we have to do is prioritize things, and I think that people uh, see a field as maybe not the top priority. We're building a brand new mega school.
Right, and this new fields,
Well,
they're going to be coming
wasn't
online.
wasn't there a comment made about that this particular field is like a staple in the town?
Yes.
That we should, it really should be
Yes.
established a certain way. Well, what I would say to that is I lived in this town for 19 years, okay? And I had my own business in town, and one of my children played softball over at that field. Now,
Right.
just so you know, the entire time I lived in this town, that field's never been like some great field. It's always been a rundown, just kind of in the corner type of field, okay? It's always been that way. I offered the town, because there were some unsafe backstops over there. There was one backstop over there, but it was unsafe. And I offered to repair that at no charge. And the bureaucracy in this town didn't even let that happen.
Really?
So when fast forward 18 years and they want to, and hasn't been 18 years, but fast forward quite a few years, and now
Yeah.
they want to spend 70 grand on it. So
How much is it, Bear? What is it?
Well, right now, allegedly, it's about $2.7 million.
$2.7 million dollars. I love allegedly. I mean, that's just priceless. Allegedly, you're great.
where
You
was I
really
getting
are.
my 70,000?
Yeah, 70,000 might be the amount that we paid for the study for it. I don't know. No, I'm just, but I mean, at the end of the day, if it's what the people really want, then go for it. But I mean, there's a lot of things that the town does need with very limited resources. I just keep asking the question, why wasn't this all done at one time when there was so much hoopla for the schools? When we were building a brand new school, we were spending, we were getting $100 million facility. We had matching funds coming into it. At that point, what is another couple of $1 million? Would you have been able to just get this in there and get it done, as opposed to doing it separately?
The fear would have been the whole thing would have failed
Because of the fear.
If you lumped it in. Yeah, if you tried to lump that in, that would have been
I mean,
a
to me,
greater
it's
chance
it's
of
the
a fail.
schools. So if we need to shore up the schools, and we shore up the schools, and we did that. We did our debt exclusion. We did it. So now we're going to come back and we're going to try to do it again. I will respectfully just say I don't have any skin in that game. I'm going to let the people vote on it. I really don't have an opinion on it. And I think people are running out of cups of coffee money, though. I will say that.
And,
Well,
like I
pretty
said,
soon Dunkin' Donuts will go out of business because no one's buying coffee.
True.
'Cause it's all going to the town tax.
And if your roof is leaking, do you buy new furniture in your living room? And I mean, there's like as you said, there's so many other issues: the fire station, the roads,
Sure.
the sidewalks.
Sure.
And what I don't, and another thing that's relative here is that 2016, a lot of your federal authoritative agencies relative to the EPA, Consumer Protection, the CDC, is that they're really studying these turf fields, and the new study is supposed to come out in 2019. And here's one big question: if that study comes out and it's adverse against turf fields, and the town goes forward with this turf field, who's going to pay for the recalibration or suggestions? I mean, it seems to me to at least wait until that study comes out. Or Washington D.C. went through a lot. They had to shut down like 9 or 10 turf fields because they had issues, and they went with this new company called the Natural Grass Advisory Group, which actually they're able to get a lot more mileage out of your regular sod loam field. And
Interesting.
There was a public forum, but I believe that public forum, Gary, was for only people that supported the field.
All right. Well, you know what? You brought it up. If anybody else wants to talk about it, we'd love to hear other people's opinions. You can email it in. What are you going to do? Are you going to vote? I want to thank you for calling in, though. I really do.
And hey, thanks
Yeah.
for being back, and good
No
to see
problem.
you too, Jim. And
Hey, did you miss Gary? You don't even know my name. Did you miss Gary though?
Oh yeah, I see you around in Uxbridge. All right.
I hear you.
All
I'm
right,
kidding
man.
with you.
It's good to talk to you, Barry. Stay in touch now.
Okay.
All right, bud. Great guy. Just
Yeah,
a,
he is.
you know what it is he's
Well, he cares about the town. There's
he
no doubt
cares a
about that.
lot about the town.
Whether you
He's,
agree with him,
right?
his
He's-
side of things or not,
he
he
is.
cares
He's not
about
afraid to say it.
Yeah.
He's not intimidated by what his opinion may,
Sure.
bring back at him. He's respectful as all hell.
Yeah.
He's a gentleman. I like having him out there. I do. If you want to weigh in on the field, weigh in on the field. Let us know your opinion, whether you're for it, whether you're against it. Doesn't matter. We like to just get all of the opinions out there. So we'll see what happens. We will see what happens with this whole Trump thing, by the way. We'll see. I mean, when we can really take a long, hard look at I think he walked pretty close up to the line. In some cases, I don't know if he knew. But I'm so sick and tired of hearing about how smart a person is, and then also hearing about how they didn't know this, and they didn't know that, and they didn't know this, and they weren't aware of that. Well, then you're not that smart. I mean, you can't have it all ways. Either you know what's going on or you don't. But I'm just over the Washington establishment. I'm done with it, Jim.
Right.
I don't see anybody in there that's really worth saving. I used to think maybe a Gowdy, maybe a Rand Paul, but even they just become full of words, no actions.
First of all, any of them that aren't for term limits, I have no use for anyway.
Amen.
Because if they're not for term limits, then they are for making a career out of that position.
Yeah.
And nobody should be making a career out of that position.
No, and they had the testimony in Washington today. It's just more distractions. That's all it is. They're keeping you going, whether, the media is, whether it's just from crisis to crisis, whether it's a shooting or a testimony or a airplane crashes or whatever it is. It's just no one's, and the first caller hit the nail right on the head. There is no reporting going on. There is just all this blah that's out there. Look at South America. Look what just happened in South America. It's absolutely positively disgusting what's going on there. And it's sad, Jim. I mean, people are being killed by the government. This is what happens when you allow actual socialism. You allow actual socialism in. So you start to talk about people like Bernie Sanders and all. Well, it's democratic socialism, and it's socialism light, and that's just the precursor to socialism. It may not be that Bernie wants to run people over in Washington that are protesting. I don't think he does. I don't agree with any of his politics, but I don't see him as a violent dictator. I see him as a precursor to a violent dictator, though. I see him as a step along the way, and the fact that he doesn't see that really means that he's an enabler of evil. And that's why I am 1,000,000% against his entire campaign. I can't get my head around anybody that would say, how many years ago was it when Bernie said that the Venezuelans are living the American dream better than the Americans are living the American dream? Look it up. It's his damn quote. And look at what has happened once that type of government has been allowed to foster itself. It promotes all this other baloney that's going on, and now this is where we are. There was a BBC story. That's what's been running in the background here, which I had, it was really short and sweet, so I figured I'd grab it. It's from early June of 2012, and Venezuela has brought a new gun law into effect, which bans the commercial sale of firearms and ammunition. This is back in 2012.
Okay.
Always the precursor to tyranny is take your guns away. It's consistent in every tyrannical government that has ever existed, is to take your weapons away.
Well, it makes perfect sense.
Absolutely. If I was trying to,
Disarm
subjugate
the
people, I would want to take their guns away. Doesn't matter. You can't find me, I don't think, an example of well-armed citizens being subjugated by their government. We proved it actually when we founded this country.
Right.
The best, the elite army of the English that came and wanted to fight for this land couldn't do it with all the arms that we had. In fact, they tried to stop the arms. And that's when things got interesting. Anyway, until now it says, and this is 2012, until now, anyone with a gun permit could buy arms for from a private company. Under the new law, only the Army, police, and certain groups like security companies would be able to buy arms from the state-owned weapons manufacturers and importers.
Okay.
The ban is the latest attempt by the government to improve security and cut crime ahead of the elections in October. Now, if you follow the chronology of this whole thing, and in this it does talk about the government has been running gun amnesty into the run-up to the introduction of new law, trying to encourage people to just give up their illegal arms without fear of consequences. But they're only illegal because you just made this law. That's why they're illegal. They're killing people every day. This law is important, but they need to do more. They're not doing enough now. So, and this is again from 2012. Hugo Chavez's government says the ultimate aim is to disarm all civilians, but his opponents say the police and government may not have the capacity or the will to enforce the law. I beg to differ. They're not just enforcing the law, they've now started killing citizens. The whole thing is absolutely disgusting. And in my humble and honest opinion, this is where we will go if we continue to go down this path. And Jim, I hate to say it, but I'm not really so sure anyone running on either side is going to stop us from going down this path. I'm not seeing that that's going to happen. These socialists always come with the same message: for the people. The people's this, the people's that. We're the People's Party, the People's Republic of China, all that kind of stuff. And people go along with them, I think, because they're in a bad situation. They believe the scapegoating. They believe that someone else is responsible for their woes, whether it be rich people or white people or black people or Hispanic. It doesn't matter who it is. Just pick a scapegoat, and that's what we're going to go after. Get everybody behind you. Everybody gets all drummed up. And then, bam, you're screwed. All of a sudden, you turn around, you're like, wait a minute, now they're coming after me? I thought I was going after them. It's absolutely unbelievable. The people in that country don't have the right to really defend themselves, and you take a look and you tell me what happened. Give me a break. Oh, okay, we have Yvette. Let me see here. All right, here's something that won't cost the town anything. Local flair for you. She does such good things in this town.
Yeah.
What a wonderful person. I'm looking for volunteers, she says, to join our team and clean our streets. I have lots of people saying thank you, but not too many volunteers. I have all the materials needed: litter pickers, gloves, bags, and even a vest with the words Northbridge Litter Brigade. I know some of the streets that really could use a cleanup, and if your listeners want to go on Facebook, better known as Assbook, or Fedbook, I say, to volunteer and to make known some streets that need cleaning, please go to the Northbridge Litter Brigade site on Facebook and leave a message. Absolutely, Yvette, anytime, whenever you're doing any of these things. And you're right, we should. She goes out and she literally, with 2 or 3 people, because that's all that she usually gets.
Sure.
And she cleans up. She picks a street and she takes all the trash out. I mean, that's admirable to do. And then you got to say to yourself, I mean, I don't know, there's a lot of litter out there. And she does have a good point. I mean, we live in the town. It can't all just be people passing through the town.
Right.
We did a cleanup with the Scouts many years ago. And we were down by the river, and we literally pulled out a full dashboard right out of there.
Right on. Yeah.
There was a
I remember you
tranny
telling
or
me about that.
something. There was, it was just disgusting what people had thrown. That's us in our own town. That's, So, yeah, Yvette, thank you
Well, she
very
needs
much.
to go in another avenue. She needs to talk to the courts about any kids that have gotten in trouble and create a community service type of thing.
Yes.
And then she doesn't need volunteers.
Yeah. Well, you might be able to hook up with the sheriff's department or
Yeah,
something
sure.
like that. Yeah. I mean, no,
Get some community
it's
service done.
it's just it's
Kids
unbelievable.
get to work off some of their hours.
But she's right. It doesn't cost anything.
No,
It's
I
it's
hear
something that you can do for the town that doesn't cost you anything. Not
Right.
even a cup of coffee. Not even 1 cup of coffee. Yvette will not take your coffee, I'm sure. She just wants you to show up. That's it.
She might even buy you a coffee.
She might buy you coffee. You never know.
I'm just saying. I mean, she's having, trying to get creative in her ways of getting people to volunteer.
Encouraging people. That might not be a bad idea. I don't know if coffee will do it, but it might. It would offset some of the
Well,
cup of coffee
what
costs
you do
that
is
you
you
get
go
now.
to Dunkin' Donuts and you ask, or Jumbo Donuts, and you ask them for a coffee donation.
Oh yeah.
So, and then you say, listen, I'll give you a cup of coffee. It's not going to cost you a cup of coffee. We'll
Speaking
actually
of
give you a cup coffee.
Dunkin' Donuts, they're going to get rid of the foam cups because of the environmental
Oh,
impact.
yeah. Okay. All right,
They're
good for
replacing them with
what?
recycled different paper cup
Yeah,
type thing.
okay.
But that cup cannot be recycled. so it has to go in a landfill.
So once it's been recycled,
One
once you
shot,
do it,
yeah,
okay.
one use. I don't know if anyone knows anything about recycling, but I just read that right before actually.
But
we
it probably
came on.
biodegrades pretty quickly, though, too.
I would think
right?
better than the plastic or the styrofoam, which is the
So if
true
it's going into
evil
a
of
landfill,
nature.
it might not necessarily
Be
be a
as
bad
bad.
thing because it's gonna.
Yeah, it probably is better.
you know,
I
it
just
might end up composting.
do they still give
pretty
you
much.
straws there?
I don't go to Dunkin' Donuts. I go to
Yeah.
Cumberland Farms.
Yeah,
my
most people do. Do you go to Cumberland Farms? That's another great poll question.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, who's dumped
friend. Dunkin'.
Dunkin's to go over to Cumbies? Anyway, there's no good outcome when government becomes too powerful, Jim. None. None. And at least in this country, we still kind of have the right to bear arms. Kind of.
Kinda.
Kind of.
They're working on it,
you
but
know,
they've been working on that for a long time, and that's why I don't think. Listen, I don't think this is countries in such dire straits. I get the media is all pointed in one direction. I get all that,
Yes.
but I still don't think things are quite as bad as that gentleman that called earlier says they are. But I know. Listen. I certainly understand how he feels that way.
Yeah.
And to watch the daily onslaught that he watches and sees different things happening,
Sure.
it could make anybody feel that way. But I think the reality is that it's really not. You know,
It's
listen,
savable,
the people that are a certain way, they're really loud. Like
Yeah.
yes voters for overrides and so on, right?
Yes.
They're really really loud. And then poll day actually happens and they get beat 3-1. Do you know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
again, so the people that he has an issue with that are trying to bring us down the social road, it seems like it's, on the surface that it's really taking hold. But I personally don't feel like it's got quite the grip on us that he seems to feel it does.
I think I come in that kind of an area. Here's my problem. We see the socialists getting elected into office.
Yeah, right.
So they're actually starting
It's
to
happening,
openly get
yeah.
elected. Let's just face it, a guy like Bernie Sanders, the fact that he can raise any money and be actually a threat nationally, Trump didn't win the popular vote. So while he is the rightful and absolute president of the United States and should be there because he won the contest the way that our country is set up,
Right.
but the majority of people were looking at Hillary. I mean, how does that give you any solace? Well, it doesn't give me much solace anyway. Do you know that Joe Biden, he's entered the race.
Yes.
He has a new campaign slogan I saw. It's hashtag I feel you.
That doesn't surprise me.
No, it doesn't. There's been a lot of great Biden stuff out there. So on the gun control, I wanted to just share something that I had posted. It's not very, very long, and I got a little bit of flack for it.
Is that
right?
true, by the way? That's really a new slogan?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, that's just a joke.
You
No,
had
that's
to,
just
I
a
mean, I was
joke.
like, because it could have been real.
Oh, it
And then
could
I
have
would have
been.
said some
It
of
could
his
have been.
people need to get fired.
It could have been. Yeah, they probably should be fired anyway. I mean, Biden is out of his mind. He's absolutely out of his mind. And we can, and just talking about him for a second, this is a guy, first of all, he's a total creep. All right. I mean, you've all seen the pictures. We don't have to play him for you again here. But he's a real creep. I don't know what you think about him, but he says that he can fix all the problems. He also says that the world is asking him to run. So the world wants now. I mean, to me, that speaks with a little collusion, doesn't it? Like you're talking to
right.
world leaders about
Yeah,
running.
right.
I don't quite get that, but that's his words. But beyond that, he's going to fix all your problems, and he can do it.
Awesome.
Yet he's been in Washington his whole frickin' life and hasn't fixed anything, right? But now, at this time, he can fix it all.
Well, he just needs the top dog job,
Yeah.
and then he can pull all the strings.
So I had posted this, and I got some flack on the gun situation because people said, well, you're comparing apples and oranges and things like that. I replied saying, well, you're assigning importance to death. You say that if someone dies with a gun, it's more important than if they died in an automobile. And I was comparing the deaths
Okay,
between the two.
Sure.
So what I posted was there are about 40,000, and I used estimates. These aren't perfect numbers, but they're, let's say, within a few thousand. There were about 40,000 gun deaths last year. Over 20,000 of them were suicides. So you can do the math and see how
We'll call
many
it half.
were murders, right? There are 300 million guns in America. Actually, there's a little more, but they can't seem to get a good number for me, so I went with an average. There were about just under 40,000 vehicle deaths last year. There are over 275 million registered vehicles in America. Remember we were talking about percent to totals?
Yes.
Right? Percent to
Yeah,
total
yeah.
is very important in a political talk. When people that want more gun laws, and in reality, what they want to do is ban guns. That's what they really want to do. They don't know it, and I talked about that. That's to me is a clear agenda. When they start to post and talk about wanting to ban or seriously restrict automobiles, then I said I would think about listening to them on why they feel the need to infringe on my absolute right to own arms. I probably won't agree with you, but I'll at least listen. LOL. I like the LOL because I think you got to put that in there. People
Softens
can,
it up a little bit.
Well, it should because when half the stuff I write, I'm writing and I'm laughing, and people are like, "You seriously?" And it's just, I mean, it's funny, guys. You got to take a what is it? A chill pill every
Right.
once in a while.
Right.
So when you think about the facts, you see that the issue is an agenda. If you're advocating to give up gun rights and not giving up your car, then I'd say you're a hypocrite at best and probably a willing or unwilling, which is even more important, soldier in the ban guns movement. If you're not posting about banning cars or some cars or big cars or small cars or ban, blah, 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 please do not comment here telling me why you want to limit or remove over 300 million people's rights to own guns. Yes, even big, scary guns. And some liked, some didn't like. It had a decent engagement on it.
Sure.
I get notifications there. I'm not going to look at them now because we're in the middle of a show. But to me, how do you, so you sit in bed and you say, gee, yeah, we have to make more gun laws and we got to get more children. I say children, 16 and a half, 17 to 24 years old die in vehicles than do with guns. More people, the vehicle is a far more dangerous weapon when you look at the deaths from it.
Sure.
Now, the difference is that the gun is actually designed to kill. That's what a gun is. It's a weapon. A car is not designed to kill. So you have this item that is designed to kill that less people are murdered with than this other item that's not designed to kill. I would think that the vehicle is far more dangerous than the gun. So we went back and we went forth and all that kind of stuff. But, I say you can't give up your gun rights. You just simply can't. And if you want to debate it, I'm open to debate it. What do you think about the whole gun issue?
Well, I certainly don't think we should be giving up our arms if that's what you're telling me
Yeah,
or asking
no.
me.
Yeah, all right. So,
And I don't need to debate. I don't need to throw cars into the mix to know that. But
yeah, but some people, Jim, the conversation, and when it gets down
I
to that
hear you.
low level, people get mad and they say, "What are you saying? You're comparing apples and oranges." No, I'm comparing people dead. Right? Let's say there's 5 people dead on the ground.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right, because
3 of them are from
right,
cars.
'cause people that want to remove guns, they'll say, well, if it can save one person, then isn't it all worth it?
It's absolutely, positively wild. It's just wild to me. I don't understand the mindset. And yeah, sometimes you got to be a little, play a little stupid or coy to get some of those comments because I want to engage those people. I really like to engage them, and then they get upset because you engage them, and it's just. I mean that snowflake term is just. I mean, it's too funny because but I see it on both sides. See, the thing that's funny is I get crap about my politics from all sides.
All sides.
From you,
Right.
from my family,
Right.
from conservatives, from liberals, from Republicans, from Democrats, because I just see this vast chasm of baloney, and I just can't believe anybody is buying into any of it. I just can't believe it.
You see a towing of one line, and you see a towing of the other line.
I do.
And you're not in either line, so you express that.
Do people really think, though, that the parties are different? Like, do they really think that the parties are different?
Some do, Gary.
I think some. Well, do you? I guess do you care about the Constitution? If you support the Constitution, then you support it, and then you can't bend because it's Trump. Well, you can't bend because it's Bernie Sanders. Because what you're doing is you're giving allegiance to these people. That's all they are. They're just people. They're not. You're an American. I've said this before. You don't need a leader. You don't need to be led. Why do you want to be led? I need a leader. This is my leader. I'm going to jump on this bandwagon. Jump off the bandwagons and just be a free citizen, constitutionally protected. So don't get all mad. But, I mean, can we just look at this for a minute? All right. People tell me, I saw a post the other day, 2 greatest presidents in the history of America. And it had a picture of Reagan meeting Trump. And I commented on it, and I said, and it was Chris's from the MMP, from the the Meat and Potato Show, who's a phenomenal guy. If you're out there, you're phenomenal. But give me a break. These are not the greatest. Neither one of them's a constitutionalist. How can they be the greatest presidents? They're better than Washington. They're better than Madison. They're better than these people. They have a better grip on freedom than. My mind almost exploded. And this is a conservative, constitutional-minded person.
Yeah.
Everybody seems to be on these boats, in these boxes, and they're like, "This is my box, and I'm in it, and I'm going to defend this box for no matter what."
Right.
Why?
Right.
What do you get out of it? Do you get like a little check? Like, does someone send you a thank you note? I don't get it. I don't understand it. I just don't get it. So I made up a short list, Jim. Made up a short list that's far from all inclusive, but it hits on many things that absolutely thwart and have something to do with your freedom not being what it was intended.
Okay.
So I figure we list off a few, right? We can list off a couple of them. Endless undeclared wars, okay? We have been fighting them since 1942. That's when we've been fighting them since. That was the last actual legally declared war that we had.
Which was bizarre when you brought that up to me, I don't know, 2 years ago, I think.
Yeah.
You asked me that question. My assumption was Vietnam, and it boggled my mind that was not.
No, it's amazing, and people don't realize that. And that was toward the end. It was in 1942, and it was, I can't remember it was 3 countries they declared war on, and I know one of them was Belarus, of all things. I can't think of the other 2. But that was the last time Congress and our representatives actually said, yes, we are at war. Now we're at war with terror. So we go anywhere, wherever there's terror. Where's there terror? It's everywhere. Okay, we can go anywhere now. And we just have been bombing, and the money that we've been spending is out of control. I mean, you're talking about just trillions of dollars over what seems like a lifetime. So that's number one. Number 2, huge debt. Absolutely limits your
Ridiculous
freedom.
debt.
It brings down the value of your money, and your money has really no value. So massive size and scope of the federal government, there is absolutely, positively, this government is so big, so obtrusive, that no founder would even recognize it. They just would not even recognize it. There's no Fed audit or real controls over the Fed. We could have a whole show on the Fed, but at the end of the day, the Fed manipulates the value of money. There is nothing to back up your money. This doesn't. Do I have any money on me?
You might not.
I might not.
You might not. Whoa.
I have a couple singles. This
loaded.
has no value. There's no value to this. There's perceived value. So if you rip it up,
Right, sure.
I'm going to be all pissed off because
Right.
you just ripped up my money, and I need this to buy goods and services.
Yeah.
But there really is no value to it. You can't take that anywhere and say, I want to turn this in for a gold coin. You know what I mean? There's no reserve that really has enough for all that they've printed. Enormous taxes and enormous fees all over the place. States infringing on federal rights, and the feds infringing on states' rights. Happening way too much.
Way too much.
There's a nasty food supply in this country. Chemicals pumped into your food. We've talked about it. We had the McDonald's show. There's 3-4 chemicals that absolutely have been proven to cause cancers and just general sicknesses that they've banned in most of Europe. Welcome to put them in there in every McDonald's across the United States. They can use them here freely, no problem. And in my opinion, that's because we have a screw you, pay me or die medical system that feeds on the nasty food and other nastiness that the government allows to be put into your body, and they feed them that. So those just work hand in hand, and then in turn, the medical industry donates tons of money
Right.
to the government. It's crazy. Massive.
And then that bleeds right into the pharmaceuticals, for sure.
Oh, God, does it ever? Now you see finally some of them are starting to be called to task for that and having to go to court. There's massive debt spending, which even though we're in all this debt, you'd think that we would just in this,
Try to
endless
limit
war,
the
right?
spending.
Which is why we're in this debt. They just keep spending it, though. Trump keeps signing bills that put us in debt. And people say, oh, he's very conservative, fiscally conservative, wants to balance the budget. But really? He signs it. So let them override you. Veto it. Why am I vetoing it? It doesn't balance.
Right.
I can't sign that. Well, we're going to override you. Go ahead. Override me, but I'm not going to put my signature. When I put my signature on something, that means I endorse it.
I endorse it, yeah.
Lack of constitutional respect and lots of infringement. It's everywhere. It's all over the place. Creation of a government class. alive and well, absolutely exists. They
No
have
doubt.
their own class of people.
That has been proving itself over and over.
I think so. Creation of class warfare and scapegoating groups to divide the populace. Everybody's divided.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a jerk. You're a jerk. Everybody's a jerk. We even call each other jerks. No one can agree.
Well,
Everybody's
occasionally
in
you
their
are a
boxes.
jerk.
I can be once in a while, just once in a while. But it's out of control. We are literally being divided by the media, by the government. They're dividing us. We can disagree and we move on. We go play pool Monday
sure.
night. We do our thing.
Yeah.
But there are people that literally are like family members, have unfriended and won't even go to Christmas because this one voted for Trump and I hate Trump.
I can't, yeah.
So I can't come to Christmas now. Like, really? Like, they have that much control over your life, these politicians, because they've inserted themselves into a government class. They've made this thing. No actual media exists. It's all propaganda on all sides. Now, we could go on and we could go on, but it's 46 minutes after the hour, so we won't go on and on. But these things are completely brought to you by the Democrat and Republican Party. 110%. All of that we just discussed. Republicans and Democrats have given you this. You don't think so?
I 100%.
Do you think so?
100%.
Back up the happy wagon, one of my favorite phrases. Just back up the happy wagon, all right? Both parties over the last, let's say, call it 75 years.
Okay.
Over the past 75 years, they've owned the White House. They've had the Senate. They've had the Congress. They've had both the Congress and the Senate. They've had all three. They've had none. Everybody's had their turn with complete power and with no power. They have. So just look around and look at reality, right? These parties are the two wings of one bird. That bird is the government class. They do not give a crap about you. Trust me, they do not give a. You think Bernie Sanders gives a crap about you, or Donald Trump gives a crap about you? Come on, this is crazy. It's just absolutely crazy. Actions speak, as does reality. So you had just made a great comment. You can see the government class. You can see these things building all over. You can just see them if
Right.
you just look at them.
Just pay attention.
Just exactly, pay attention. I think that every single elected person in Washington needs to go home. All of them. Send them all home. We need a mulligan. We need a do-over. That's what we need. If I played golf, I'd need a lot of mulligans. But we do need a do-over. And none are doing anything beyond some words to restore constitutionality. And I would say to you, you prove me wrong. You prove me wrong. You think Trump is a constitutionalist? Constitutionalists don't sign budgets that include funding for the NSA to spy on you. They don't do that. Constitutionalists don't say, take the guns first, due process second. They don't say that.
That was a big one.
But he said it.
Yeah.
And then people say, well, he misspoke. And he this. Okay, so why hasn't he come out? And he's out there at the NRA. And they're applauding him. Oh, they're applauding him. Trump's here. They're going to applaud him. Yet, if I decide as a government person that you might be mentally ill, who decides who's mentally ill? I mean, we need to have a real conversation on this whole who can own guns and who can't thing. James Madison said, and you can't deny it, he did say in the Federalist, I don't remember which number it is, that lawful citizens of sound mind, he felt, should own a gun. So, okay, lawful. So you can't be a felon. This is the guy that helped write the Second Amendment. These are his thoughts. So he's thinking if you're a felon, maybe you shouldn't have a gun.
Perhaps you shouldn't have a gun.
If you're not a citizen, it doesn't apply to you anyway because you're not a citizen of this country, so you're not protected to have a gun. You'd have to become a citizen under the Constitution. And of sound mind. That's the sketchy one. Who gets to decide who's of sound mind?
Right.
So what they've done is they took it and they said initially, you know what, we're going to throw this back toward the states. The towns and the municipalities will know who should and who shouldn't. So we're going to have the police departments or the selectmen or whatever. The town will decide that.
Sure.
Completely unconstitutional. Because because then they can just say, no one can. We live in a town where, it's pretty good with that. Actually, a lot of towns in Massachusetts, believe it or not, are pretty good with it. But there's some real horror stories out there. There are some chiefs of police that say we're not issuing gun permits. That's it. How can you say that? That, in my opinion, that chief of police should be arrested.
Right.
You should be arrested. You can't just say there's no one can have a gun in this town. It's a federally protected right. Can somebody say you don't have freedom of speech in this town? Can someone say you don't have due process in this town or due cause? No. But this is what drives me mad. It's like I want to take collectively America and just choke it for a minute and say, will you stop? Because you're missing the entire point of what he meant and the reasons. Go back to Venezuela. If those people were armed, If there were 300 million guns in the hands of citizens of Venezuela, do you really think that they would be being slaughtered in the streets?
Overthrown and slaughtered.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But I mean, I don't mean to bash on Trump, but people that are out there saying he's some constitutional savior, it's like, no, he's not. He's absolutely not. Just on his record with guns, he signed gun law on bump stocks. Obama didn't even help push that through, okay? But he did, and he couldn't wait to sign that damn thing because he wanted to be able to say to the establishment, to his handlers, which is the government class, see, I signed that gun legislation. I gave you what you wanted, so now I want to get this farm bill through or something like that. They're all, what was it in Animal House? You're all worthless and weak. You know, they all need to really go home. It just gives me a wild thing. When will enough be enough? You know, when are you going to stand up, right, and do something? Go do a cable show. Go do a protest. Get on Facebook and start to challenge what people are thinking. Before you have to literally go grab your arms and fight the government because they are intruding upon you like they are in Venezuela. Don't say it can't happen here. 15 years ago, 12 years ago, it was a socialist utopia there. I mean, you know, and I'll tell you something else. You look at Australia. I just learned yesterday or today, they have almost a 50% fuel tax. 50% of what you pay for your fuel is taxes.
Holy.
And they do an income tax of whatever that percent is. So if you add those two together, was the example, the person was trying to play it a little like it was America and got called out because it was Australia. So then I Googled it, reading the comments, and I'm like, because we don't have a fuel tax that high. And that's where we learned what it was. But oh boy, let me tell you, it was.
So if gas is $4 there, let's just say it's $4 for a gallon of gas.
Yeah, $2.
$2.
$2 roughly is taxes. So if you would, the example
And didn't
was.
they lose their guns recently? I mean,
They've been back and forth. There were times in some of the Nordic countries and also in some of the Switzerlands and some of these places that the left loves to use as an example of how socialism works so well. You know, they have 5 million people that live in their country, and of course you can provide a lot for 5 million people. This is a 300 plus million person country. But they used to actually have where you would have a gun. You would either be given one or you would go and you would buy a gun. Every citizen had a gun.
Had to have one. Yeah.
And I think that they have since retracted a lot of that in a lot of those areas. The reason that you don't see all that uprising and all that stuff, and quite frankly, Jim, the reason they can afford to do what they do is because we protect them. You know,
Sure.
Back when they were, you know, Norway was conquering lands and had big armies, they didn't have money to take care of all their citizens. That's why we don't have money to take care of all our citizens. But we're also policing the entire world. And we're giving them aid. And we, in writing, have guaranteed if you attack Australia, we're going to come and defend Australia.
Yep.
Same thing with Canada. You think anyone's attacking Canada? What do you think Canada puts into a military budget compared to America? The only reason that that's how they can have all these things that they have, because they collect these taxes and they don't have much to spend it on.
Right.
I don't know. I'm out of breath tonight.
You have been talking.
I mean, let me because I got a lot bottled up from what I've been seeing out there of just the people just don't give a crap. I can't believe that they're so.
No, people give a crap, Gary. Listen, we all live our daily busy lives.
Yes.
You know, you get up, you go to work, you do your thing, you come home, you make dinner for the kids, blah, 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 you put them to bed, and you might be able to watch half hour of a show before you fall asleep.
Yes, you're right.
You know,
by design, Jeff.
But no, I get that. I get that it's by design. But don't think that doesn't mean people don't care. It's just hard for them to come up with some time to.
I hear you. I do hear you. I mean, look, I haven't been here in over a month. I think that what has to happen, in my opinion, as we come to the close here, is I think that we got to start to vote differently. We have to start to say, I'm not going to vote. People say, don't vote for this guy because you're throwing away your vote. Well, but if everybody just took a different attitude and said, don't vote for these guys, they've been there for 300 years and they've done nothing for you, right? Whatever it is. So I'm going to go this way. If everybody did that, they'd be gone. And eventually, a new government class would emerge because that's what government does. But you got to keep hitting that reset button. Otherwise, I hate to say where I think it will go. I really do. I mean, people are getting crazy already. They really are. They really are.
And that's where don't actually pull the lever for anybody, but submit your
Yes.
comes from, right? And
Yeah,
That's
yes.
what you're talking about with that.
I've done it many times.
Right, where
Oh,
you don't actually vote for anybody, but
Yeah.
you run your card.
I
and
do run my
say,
card through.
Yeah.
Blank does well on my ballot usually. And like you brought up a good point. I will vote for no one that will not commit to me through a email or something that they will absolutely support and try to enact term limits. If they won't, no vote. I don't care if it's people I like locally. I don't care who it is. There should be term limits at least state level and up. Locally, you want to keep, and I hate to say that because free people should be able to vote for who they want, but we can't be trusted because we keep voting for these idiots.
Term limits for the president. Why wouldn't there be for the Senate and anywhere else? I mean, I don't.
Sounds good to me.
Why not?
All right, we got to go because we got to make room for the next live show. Harry's coming up. I'm sure he's in house already. Kicking us out. All right, folks. We will be back next week. Hopefully, Jim will be back here with us.
Yeah, absolutely.
That'll be great. I want to thank you for being out there. Thanks for your patience. I will see you soon. Stay free.
Because we are the prey. Yes, we are the prey. We'll fight you in name, the name of the fray. We are the US of A. For those unaware.